invited us to the second part of this incredible grind. 500 kilometres the total distance when you put these two 250-kilometre legs together. About 1,870 gear changes per race. That works out at just under 4,000 gear shifts over the 2 days of racing near Crompton. You've done it before, and plenty of these guys finish with a big hole in their left glove.
You're 100% right. It certainly is an incredible grind. Marcos Ambrose starts from pole position for this second leg of the Clipsal 500 from Stephen Richards, Russell Ingall, Greg Murphy, who was very quick in the latter stages yesterday.
Paul Wheel and Paul Morris. Great performance from those two yesterday. Mark Skate fighting his way up to 7th. Paul Dumbrell, a great performance in the VX Commodore in 8th.
Then it's John Bowe, whose car just ate up its rear tyres a little too quickly yesterday afternoon from Glenn Seaton, who slipped off on the oil. So did Bowe, in fact. Warren Luff, who was right amongst it at one point. Great strategy then. Rick Kelly from 12.
Actually led the race at one stage, the DJR driver. Brad Jones finished 13th. Jason Bright 14th after showing great speed early on. Mark Winterbottom fastest in the warm-up this morning. And Craig Baird in 16th place.
Cam McConville in the second of the Valvoline cars, and the only Valvoline car in this race today after Garth Tander went off in the warm-up. David Bernard and Stephen Johnson, who also showed good pace in the warm-up for position 2.
And that's Garth Tander's missing car there in position 19. Jason Bargwana, well, we heard about the problems he had yesterday. Craig Lowndes, also in engine dramas. Max Wilson, a man with a good stash of tyres there. Watch him. Jason Richards in the Tasman Motorsport car.
For the back, Simon Wills, Paul Radisich, Anthony Tratt and Steve Ellery, who had a clutch problem yesterday. That was why he couldn't get out of the gravel trap when he went off at turn 5.
And of course, Todd Kelly starts off the back after that huge shunt. Turn 8 yesterday, and he got the second lap of the race. Enormous damage. And he's got to now try and salvage some points from the remaining 250 kilometres of this incredible event.
They're revving. They're ready, like thunder rolling off those Adelaide hills. Get set for race 2. Big drag at the front again between Ambrose. Look at Ingall weaving around, trying to find a path. He's going up the inside of Ambrose, but no, he holds back and holds 3rd position.
Whoa! Stephen Richards gets the tail of the Castrol Commodore way sideways coming through the centre chicane. Manages to gather it up. A heart-stopping moment for the Castrol driver. Russell Ingall once again getting an excellent launch off the second row.
Yes, Ingall made a great jump, but he couldn't go anywhere with it, unfortunately. There were cars right across as a wall in front of him between Ambrose and Richards, so he was completely blanked out at the first turn. There wasn't much he could do with that speed, but his starts have been terrific all weekend, and his rehearsals at the exit of the pit lane here have also been very strong.
Everyone's got to play it cool here on this opening few laps until tyre temperatures, tyre pressures build up. The cars start to get into their genuine race tune. Saw Todd Kelly get in all sorts of trouble in the second lap here, so it can catch the best as they come down under brakes into the hairpin.
How much car speed is Ambrose carrying, though? He's already got a couple of seconds on them up the front.
Look at Scaife here, car 2. Buried down in the pack, not where he likes to be.
John Bowe had to run right down the inside then to maintain the defence into turn 9. It's been a pretty good opening lap, guys. It's the second day in a row where it's been a pretty good start. Generally speaking, we have a lot of aggravation here in the first couple of corners as it's Paul Wheel makes a run up the inside.
So Marcos Ambrose leads him across. The standing time, 1 minute 28.78 seconds. Stephen Richards, Ingall, Murphy, Paul Wheel up to 5th, Paul Morris in 6th.
That's quicker than yesterday's standing lap time from Ambrose.
Ooh, straight across the ripple strips. I think that's car 18. Warren Luff, the man who led the race briefly yesterday. Let's see if the DJR strategy can pay off again in leg 2.
Paul Wheel was actually recapturing the position he started in.
It's Bright moving in behind Warren Luff. And Brighty went off this morning in the warm-up and damaged the front left corner of his car. They've got good speed. He's got a great chemistry with his new engineer, Phil. They've worked well together to get this new model car working very quickly in a very short frame of time.
Mark Skate started in 7th. He's dropped back to 11th already. Dumbrell's been one of the good movers up to 7th.
Hard on the brakes down into the hairpin. Massive stop here from 6th down to 2nd gear. And looks like
it's Rick Kelly going down the inside of John Bowe. So he had a shot at it the second time round, and John just fainted across to the right, but he couldn't hold him back this time as we go on board with Greg Murphy chasing Russell Ingall into the final corner here.
This guy had phenomenal car speed yesterday. He clawed his way back from a bad tactical position after the last compulsory stop. Fought his way up into 4th spot just through incredible pace. The Morris team very much on a development phase with this air conditioning system.
Good run here from Glenn Seaton, just at the back of this pack as well. He's in 8th, so the order: Ambrose, Richards, Ingle, Wheel, Murphy, Morris, Dumbrell. Morris looking, but not quite close enough, or is he? Right on him.
He wanted to race them today. He said that after the strategy yesterday with that conservative situation. The early stop, of course, meant that he had to short shift, and as Mark pointed out, hold on. Today he wants to be able to go on the attack, and Murphy is the first target.
And that Castrol Perkins team have got a good package in that VX, because last year here they were extremely strong, and Dumbrell's putting it to very wise use. So then it's Seaton, Scaife, Rick Kelly, John Bower, Winterbottom is 12, Brad Jones, Luff, McConville, Baird, Stevie Johnson, Bargwana, Bernard and Lowndes is 20th.
I think they've discovered with this air conditioning in Morris's car, they need to get some sort of system where they can get some fresh airflow into the cabin, just to clean out the, I guess you could say, the stale air that's recirculating around in the cabin. It's early days yet, but they're very confident that this system is the way to go. Certainly Paul got out of the car yesterday in a pretty fresh condition.
This is all up through the 90-degree short shoots up to 130 k's, back down to 80 across the face here of 7, and then it's a little breather here as you make a few gear changes and the high-speed run down towards turn 8, building to just over 230 k's. Across the face of the right hander, the car dances at just over 200 kilometres an hour, back to 225, and then a huge stop at turn 9 for this right hander, 55 kilometres an hour, the slowest corner, and Morris just rattling away on the back of this thing, making light contact. Back up to 145 k's, down again to 90 through this left-hander at turn 11. This is right behind the pit complex. Scaife's turned around.
He's parked in the shadows there too. He's just out of the racing line, but he's got to try and get this thing turned around and get back into the action. Look at the number of places he's losing.
He's had to grab reverse, and that's not an easy thing to do with these cars, where you sit and how you actually engage it. So can he flick spin it round?
Oh.
And a spin here for, is that Murphy?
It is Murphy. He's been complaining about rear tyre grip. Well, there's the proof in the pudding. He's going to try and do what Scaife's trying to do a bit further around the track.
Mate, do you want to come in and get some tyres and do a chassis change?
His hands are full at the moment, Rob.
We have 2 cars going backwards right now.
So he flicks, spins it, gets it back into action, but Kmart Commodore and the Holden Racing Team Commodore coming to grief almost at the same time on different parts of the circuit. Let's have a look at the Scaife incident.
And he's going up the inside of Glenn Seaton. He's had to pinch the brakes. He made very light contact with Glenn. There was nobody behind him. It was because he was looking down the inside. He needed more brake pressure at the critical moment, and he had to squeeze him that hard on the grey side of the track that there was no room, and around he's gone. It's been pretty costly. John Bower was next in the queue, so Mark backs her up, but he's dropped a heap of placings there.
Up ahead of...
More chaos.
More drama.
Seaton, Morris, is it?
Yep.
And the door opening on one of the Castrol cars there. So, and Seaton's car looks like it's taken a fair old belting in the right rear.
So Morris has got the car fired up, and he's going to get back into it, but Seaton, not sure. We'll just see what happens when this traffic clears.
He's on the charge too, Glenn, up to 7th position.
This will trigger a series of stops. Ingle's the first to come in and take advantage.
Your engine, do you understand?
Darrell's going to be on top of this one. Just lap 12 of 78.
It's spread out the top 4, I can tell you.
Darrell.
It's interesting, this one, guys. I heard him say, Russell, come in, we'll change tyres now. And I heard Russell respond on the radio with, what about the engine? They'll have a look at it now. The front bonnet's coming up on this car. So this car, earlier on, we mentioned, had a misfire. And they said, bring engine temperature up, Russell, it'll fix it. But obviously, it's carried on.
And whenever a bonnet goes up mid-race, that's a drama. Ambrose with a 5.5 second lead, and his teammate, after a great day yesterday, put a spring back in this bloke's step. He was bouncing around the paddock yesterday afternoon and this morning like a new man, but that smile will be long gone. So it's Ambrose, Richards, Wheel, Bow as more cars peel in. Morris in, damage to his car. They're looking under the rear of it to make sure there's no problems with geometry or shocks. Greg.
Well, just down at Paul Morris's car, this team exceptionally disappointed. Paul had been on the radio talking to his engineer, Paul Sepranich, regarding Greg Murphy. They felt they were being held up to the tune of about 5/10 to 7/10 of a second per lap. So Things have obviously escalated here, some damage to the rear of this car, and they're trying to address that at the moment with a dead puller.
Well, this man is extremely fit. Let's have another look at this incident here. Morris just giving Murphy a little tap.
Oh, well, it was contact between the Kmart Commodore and the Sarah May Wines car.
And Dumbrell took evasive action. Seaton went the other way. Here's the other replay from the front angle. A little contact in the right rear of Murphy's car was enough to send it. And there's contact then as Dumbrell touches Morris. He goes right, Seaton goes left, Bow gets through.
And then later on, they also came
I'd say
unstuck.
later the same lap, because it brought a few of them together, there was then nonsense as they went down into turn 9.
No, they got something.
You've got to use the stubbies whenever a crew member is under the car to make sure the jacks are safe whenever work is being done. There are observers in the pit lane to make sure. And it's going onto the go jacks. The Ingle car is out of business.
Putting it back in the garage. Boy, oh boy, what a surprise.
All kinds of carnage out there. This is Stephen Johnson. We're not sure how it happened, but he's in the pits and has had to make running repairs. An excellent effort from the team here. There's a lot of panel damage, and I don't know if they'll ever get enough clearance for that wheel to go back on and stay on.
Mark, we've been speculating. We haven't seen the pictures yet of where and how, but yeah, we thought it was turn 11, and I think this is confirmation on the Zinger replay. Stevens well wide of the apex and smacks the tyres on the right-hand side there and does very substantial damage to the Shell Helix Ford.
The order: Ambrose, Stephen Richards 3.5 seconds behind, Todd Kelly in third, Paul Wheel fourth, Bright fifth. That's Bow, Wilson, Radicic, Winterbottom, a whole stack of Fords there. Lowndes now, as he did yesterday, climbing into the top 10. Paul Wheel inside of Todd Kelly. That puts him up to third place. So, Garth, you've got to say these PWR Commodores are showing terrific speed. Let's have a look at this Zinger replay.
Mark Scape trying to find his way through the inside of David Bernard. And another incident here up the top of the circuit as Scape tries to get under him again. This is turn 7. This time I think he makes it stick, and Bernard has to get right over the top of the exit rubber strip. Well, Kelly now in.
This is his first stop. They say the longer your winning streak, the closer you are to your next loss. Well, that's the case for HRT at Adelaide, obviously, although Toddler is still in there fighting away. And Jason Bright and Paul Wheeler, another of those teams.
Doing tyres here. Wonder if they'll back-to-back Todd Kelly in this situation, bring him back in on the next lap and try and get them both out of the way. Craig Lowndes was in 10th spot. He's come in for his fuel stop as well. Darryl?
Yes, Todd Kelly's just got in time before Murph, but unfortunately it's tight down here in the pits. Murphy hasn't got in terrifically straight, but fuel on board, it's quite a long stop. It was roughly around about 13 seconds, so about 60 litres.
Hear the call that they've got to reset the fuel, the button on the steering wheel has to be held down for a second or two just to reset the fuel so that they can see on the telemetry back in the garage what your new fuel burn is in terms of per lap and your total fuel burn. It's critical now for some of them. We're still right on that narrow edge, Garth. If you had a full green quick race to the end, you'd be right on the edge of you burning all your 120 litres.
Yeah, you generally gamble a little bit of having a safety car somewhere between now and the end of the race. It generally happens on Sunday. Everyone's a bit tired, does something a little silly, and a safety car comes out. So that'll help you with your fuel economy towards the end.
Third and fourth, Wheel and Bright. Other drivers to make their second stops, Jason Richards and Simon Wills. Rusty.
Just dramas here for Craig Lowndes, guys, at Ford Performance Racing. They had the bonnet up on that car, a non-scheduled stop. The reason being the belt had come off that car, so they fixed that problem. Also, too, for Garth's, I guess, information, Cameron McConville dropped the pressure in the rear tyres. The crew at Valvoline Cummins dropped the pressure in his rear tyres by £1 pound during that stop.
Black flag shown to Anthony Tratt for pit lane speeding. Mark Scaife, meanwhile, takes on his fuel to get him through to the end. Daz?
Yes, Mark's come in, he's fuels in and out, about the same as Murphy, 13 seconds. He's got to wait for Bug One, and also a roll centre adjustment on that car for Scape.
And we should make the point, Garth, that doesn't sound like much at home to talk about making a £1 pound adjustment to a tyre, but the net effect can be pretty big, can't it?
Oh, it's massive. We did it with my car yesterday at the fuel at our tyre stop and transformed the car. It was absolutely fantastic. After £1 pound, it's hard to imagine.
Whole new set of strategies being played out today in the stops.
Stone Brothers pit will no doubt be watching the progress of Rick Kelly. He's the first driver in the queue that's made both his compulsory stops. He's 13th on the road.
Max Wilson is now in that category too, Mark, and is unofficially second when you look at it that way. But
Cam McConville.
Good job, mate.
Jason
Doing a good
Bowen
job. Keep it up.
escapes
That's just Bridie behind you.
in that group as well.
Don't worry
So
about
everyone in front of Rick Kelly, he's in 13th. Everyone in front of him has yet to make their second compulsory stop. That'll be for fuel. So this could fold out pretty well for Rick Kelly.
Garth, there's a fair bit of mental and physical pain at this point in this second race, isn't there? We're kind of in the halfway realm of this second race, and right about now the body's already knocked around from yesterday. It's tough stuff.
It's incredibly tough, and a lot of the guys said yesterday when they jumped out of the car how tough yesterday's race was, and couple that with the extra underwear and layers and heat that we're having to deal with this year, and the level of competition. I mean, every lap is a qualifier, 78 qualifying laps in a row, and you just have to be able to do that. And I know Cam and I have done an extremely large amount of training this year, and actually yesterday when I jumped out was the best I've ever felt.
Greg Rust.
Warren, like a difficult start to the championship for you. What happened?
Look, it was a bit of a mistake on my part. I had a bit of a problem with some front end grip and just turned in a little bit early and clipped the tyres on the inside, and it obviously just broke something in the front end. So from there, just a passenger.
What about the damage? I mean, obviously you can't continue. How bad will that be, and will it affect your preparation for round two?
No, it's just it was enough to put us out of the race. It's just pushed the front end a bit and obviously hold the radio and a few other bits and pieces. But the boys will get it back in the truck tonight to Queensland. It'll be fixed before the end of the week.
Chin up, Warren.
Thanks, mate.
So Rick Kelly, car 15, first car in the queue that's made both compulsory stops. He's back in 13th position on the road. And it'll be interesting to see if there's any overlap with Marcus Ambrose. Our race leader comes in for his compulsory stop for fuel.
On the track, he's nearly 5 seconds now ahead of Stephen Richards and Paul Wheel. Great result so far for Paul Wheel Racing, because Jason Bright is in 4th position. We're back and watching the teammates battle. Jason Bright up the inside of Paul Wheel. Thank you very much. I can't imagine there would have been any anal rubbing there. That is the contest for 3rd place in this race. Now, the top 8 cars are yet to make their second stops, but I can tell you that race leader Marcus Ambrose is on track about 34 seconds ahead of Rick Kelly, the first of the cars to make 2 stops. He's in 9th position. So theoretically, Ambrose still has a chance of coming out in a very strong position when he gets the opportunity to make a stop. But we never know. If there's safety cars, this is the other aspect of the weekend. And Craig Lowndes, what a misery it's been for him.
Absolute misery, Billy. Shocking run at the Adelaide Grand Prix, the Melbourne Grand Prix, which fortunately wasn't a championship round. Here in Adelaide, the points are on the table, and Lowndes has an absolute shocker.
So Rick Kelly, this is the first driver to have made 2 stops, but as I said, about 34 positions on track behind 34 seconds on track behind Marcus Ambrose, and in 9th place. So we'll keep a close eye on this strategy.
Tell you what, that's going to be touch and go too, because the average stop, total time with time loss, is about 35 seconds for fuel. So it could be really touch and go where Marcus Ambrose comes in. Meanwhile, down in pit lane, I believe Craig Lowndes has the headsets on. Can you hear us, Craig?
Yes, I can.
Well, can you believe this?
Look at that smile.
How can you keep smiling after a weekend like this?
Well, you always look on the right side of life, and I am at the moment. It's really, yesterday we had a mechanical problem with the engine. Today it's actually spat the fan belt and cooked the engine.
Tell me, I believe the problem that you guys are having with engines is the fact that they're being built in the UK and you're trying to install them here, and there's all sorts of issues there.
Well, there's sort of that side of it. They are built in the UK and they're shipped out to Australia, and we actually in-house actually install them into the cars. And it's really not the installation of the engines that's the problem. It's just really getting the mapping of them and actually getting the preparation done before we get to this weekend. As everyone knows, we haven't actually had a test day yet, and it's probably really showing at the moment.
So Stephen Richards, Jason Bright, Ambrose, Bernard. And look at this attack under brakes. Kelly gets it back.
He's in trouble, Rick Kelly. Very slow last lap. John Bowe is right on his hammer. And then, of course, the 2 better electrical Falcons, Wilson and Radicic. This will be a good battle. In the meantime, Richo is finally in the pits. Greg.
Stopwatch is ticking, Billy. The boys watching very closely to time this fuel to perfection so he wastes not too much time in pit lane. 13 seconds gone, 14 of fuel, 15 seconds, so they've got a safety buffer. He's had a stall.
And did you notice?
They did warn him about that on the radio, just to be careful of a cough.
It's very difficult with the pit lane speed limiter engaged. If you use too much throttle percentage, Garth, it's real easy to just and there goes Ambrose. So it's real easy to put the fire out, isn't it?
Oh, very easy, and you fill the tank back up again, so you've got to get a bit more weight moving. Heart rate's going a million mile an hour, and you're sitting there, it feels like an eternity, and all you want to do is get going, and you let the clutch up a bit quick, and she dies. So,
in fairness to Richo, I don't think that would have been enough, though. Ambrose was flying past there, and I suspect even if he'd got out cleanly, he wouldn't have made it.
And Bridie will be in this lap for fuel, so it's all finally sorting out.
Jason Bright is currently the race leader, 17 seconds in front of Marcus Ambrose, but he's coming in for his fuel stop this lap, so it should be Ambrose, Stephen Richards, Paul Wheel and Rick Kelly, John Bowe. That's how the top 5 should shake out once Jason Bright and David Bernard have peeled off to make their stops.
Yeah, we're looking at Wheel here in front of Morris, but behind them is Rick Kelly.
This is the reason why you pointed out that he did a 32 on that lap, Garth.
just got on the bumps going up into 4.
Gets back on. Now, he can't quite blend in yet because John Bowe has come through, and Radicic, is it, or Wilson? Very, very close.
I think they touched there.
Wilson. It was Wilson, yep.
Simon Will's car has been tucked away.
Local team, the Adelaide-based Team Dynamic.
He had a big splash in the local newspapers today, Simon Will, so he's a big hero for a Kiwi in the local papers. It's great to see Adelaide with their own race team.
Triple Eight engineering boss Roland Dane said they're only new to this game in terms of racing V8 supercars. They're taking a watch-and-see approach in these early rounds and running these cars virtually in formation. They've been stuck together like glue throughout this event. Max Wilson and Paul Radicic, they just want to get finishes. That's what they're really after, top 10 finishes. If they can get that this early in the championship with the very close point structure that rewards consistency, they'll be doing pretty well.
Now watch, we expect to see Bright in for fuel any tick of the clock.
His lead is 17.6 seconds over Marcus Ambrose on the track. Bernard is third, and he is another driver who's only made the one stop. Nice drive again from Jason Bargwanna in 11th position. Only a couple of positions ahead of his young teammate Mark Winterbottom, who was quickest in the warm-up this morning, if you didn't catch that information earlier in the program. So great encouragement there for Mark Larkham's team.
I said before that Murphy's quiet in this one as Bridie now comes in. I heard before on the radio.
A little bit of water in pit lane, just bring it in nice and easy. When you pull up, I want you to put on the brake until you hear me start to say wait.
Heard on the radio earlier that
Jason Bright in the pits with fuel. Oh, the fuel guy taking a couple of dabs trying to get that in there. He was a little bit slow. They lost a second or two initially.
Wait.
Standard stop, clean windscreen, telling it to wait.
Wait.
Long stop now, 15 seconds, just over 15, 16 seconds, so a little long.
That was about 3 seconds longer than they'd liked. It took about 3 seconds to get the fuel filler on, and you saw the guy standing next to him with a stopwatch. They were timing the amount of fuel to go in because they don't need a full tank to get to the end this late into the race.
and I'll bet he started the watch when he thought it was coupled, and then it was actually retracted again, and so I don't know whether he had to reset the clock or actually just decide to add a couple of seconds for safety.
It's probably safe just to throw another couple of seconds of fuel in it to make sure you get to the end.
So Bright's rejoined just in front of his teammate Paul Wheel. That puts him 4th place now. And that'll be 3rd spot once David Bernard peels off. Bernard currently 2nd on the road, and the last of this leading pack yet to make his fuel stop. So the order should be, once Bernard peels off, Marcus Ambrose, Stephen Richards, Jason Bright, Paul Wheel, Rick Kelly.
Don't go back too far, but just watch the front locking. Think about your brake bias, mate.
Well, with Bernard in between them, Richards is conceding about 12 seconds, probably a little more to Marcus Ambrose.
Radio conversations with Jason Bright, just thinking about brake bias, resetting bars after the stop, a little change in the balance of the car because of the weight. Not a lot of fuel taken on.
14, Marcus. We just want to take a precaution, and if the shift lights will still work, just knock it back 100 revs, mate.
Yeah, obviously an electrical element in the car there, if they're talking about the shift lights actually working or not, and they're knocking revs back as well, so there is something going on with that car.
And you'll notice the time difference that they gave him was the difference between himself and Stephen Richards, not Bernard, who, of course, as Mark said, has to make his 2nd stop. So he needs to know his real race position. As we see Maxie Wilson running into trouble. Well, didn't we put the mocker on them, Mark? We're talking about the formation.
We're just saying how well they were running, and they have been running very well. And there is the team. Obviously hugely disappointed. Max Wilson going out lap 52. And that's just on the exit from the hairpin.
At least they're showing a bit of pace and a bit of swerve there from Cameron McConville under pressure from Jason Bargwanna. That's the battle for 8th place.
Bargwanna continues to run pretty strongly. He had a good run in Melbourne, and he headed the second group in qualifying yesterday. Solid result in the first race yesterday, and where is he at the moment? 9th. He had a run with the roulettes earlier in the week, and the PC9 got tipped upside down and inside out. That was a bit of fun.
Jason Richards in the Tasman car, we should point out, right behind him, and a top 10 position for them is pretty good too at this stage of the year.
Yeah, it's early days for Tasman Motorsport. Originally, for a long time known as the Lansvale Racing Team. And a half share taken by Kevin Murphy, of course, Greg Murphy's dad, and other partners. Try and move these guys up the ladder. Still a single car team in a VX Commodore. The VY is due to come on stream later in the season. Wally Story, chief engineer, and the boys doing a terrific job here. It's always early days when a driver is trying to develop some sort of a communication with a new engineer, and these guys are working together pretty well.
Just a plug, Mark, for our Grand Prix tonight, second round of the World Championship from Sepang. Incidentally, for those that don't know, Mark Webber is on the front row alongside Michael Schumacher, down 0.7. He displaced Rubens Barrichello in 3rd position. The weather forecast for up there is 79 degrees in the old language, 26, but the humidity is going to be, the predicted humidity is 89%. So they'll be cutting through it up there in this race. It'll be hard work, and a lot of interest in whether or not Michelin can bridge the gap to Bridgestone, shown to us at Melbourne by Ferrari. Michael's certainly got a margin, and you know, he qualified in a 33. Last year's pole sitter Fernando Alonso will start from the rear of the grid, having bunkered his thing in the last sector, stuck it in the gravel in the qualifying lap. And they're 4 seconds a lap quicker by comparison to last year. In the note that I got from Mark last night, he said that you can, like, you know what 4 seconds is like, GT. He said it's actually physically becoming quite hard to drive the cars, to actually hold yourself in the car. The speeds, the mid-corner speed, the G-forces are generating now far exceed anything they've ever done in Formula One, even back to the days with the ground effects, the tunnels, the whole lot.
It's incredible, isn't it? Just tyre technology, what it's done in that category the last 18 months is just absolutely amazing.
Well, it's something that you have to keep an eye out for, because I remember Jeff Brabham telling me once when he was driving at Le Mans in a car that was so fast that they had to actually detune it, because otherwise, he said, the G-forces would have torn his head off. He physically couldn't drive the car at the pace that it was capable of doing.
This little battle's brewing here. It looks like Paul's got just a whisker more pace than John, and he's just making sure that Aussie male car's in the right place at the right time. And Paul's looking to crisscross him here. Can he get up the inside?
There's plenty of panel banging going on there. JB is making that car very wide indeed, and the Rat is looking to claw his way past.
This is the sort of hand-to-hand combat we've seen from the Rat over the years. He loves this sort of stuff, and he's actually got a bit of smoke now billowing from the back.
Yeah, John had a bit of it going before, but he's got a bit more of it now. Can he get down the inside into 9? Yeah, good positive move by Radisson.
Oh, I thought they were going to collide. I knew they were going to collide. You could just see it was on. There was plenty of argy-bargy on that lap.
JB very vulnerable there. He is exposed. He's just managed to turn it enough to get off the line, or at least partially, and almost reversed into one of the following cars.
If you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing.
And also, that came not long after we'd said what a great weekend they were having, so we better just stay quiet about all
damage. He's going to end up in the wall there.
Oh, Kim Jones is on the march. Look out.
Tony Manson. No, not Tony, but one of the Tiga operations men just getting an earful from Kim.
The way that John's car popped that tyre and lurched towards the wall, I'm not sure whether he would have got out of that, but this battle's raging as well.
Greg Murphy at the head of that, Stephen Johnson with that battered car, Todd Kelly.
And Mark Skaife 14th and 15th in this motor race, and clearly battling cars that are not strong enough this weekend. Skaife and Bernard. Bernard's been together a couple of times this weekend.
Wow,
that's
what a race for Mark Skaife.
Suddenly this race, after settling just a little bit, just inside the 20 laps to go.
Safety car.
Tim Schenken in race control there with his arm raised.
Stand down, stand down.
No.
Stand down. So waiting, poised to enter the safety car, but doesn't look like they're going to bring it out now.
Bow into the pits for a checkup now and out again.
Yeah, so they've
The new
replaced the rubber and just pulled that guard back. The double yellows are flying, but I heard Tim say stand down.
We've got a yellow on the timing monitor too, incidentally, which indicates that that's the case.
So, and the SC boards are out, so...
Tim might be giving all the guys a chance to have a rest. It's starting to get a bit daring out there, and
look at this.
Pushing and shoving.
This was on, wasn't it? Half a lap before, you could see there's plenty of fisticuffs going on here.
What a touching moment that was.
There was
Well,
plenty
what
of
Paul was looking to
aggravation.
do was the classic crisscross. Here he actually makes a big dive, gets down the inside, but then starts to move to the left. Paul moves across, and then they make contact. Very lucky for them both to not end up in the wall there.
We don't know what damage Paul sustained. There was no obvious rubbing as he exited that corner, but you don't know long term. Greg Rust with Kim Jones.
Well, Kim's been watching the big screen, guys. You've seen those replays. You've already been and had a word to some of the officials. What's your view?
Oh no, I just asked the officials if they could have a look at it. You know, Paul touches up 4 or 5 times there, sure. John was driving defensively, and it's ended in a mess. But it looks like this year you can crash and you can bash and you can push and shove and get away with it, because that's what's going on right now. Thanks.
On that subject, there was a lot of discussion in the drivers' briefing yesterday. A presentation by Chief Executive Officer Wayne Caddick from Avesco and also Kelvin O'Reilly from the Touring Car Entrance Group. As Skate comes in to replace rubber and perhaps check for damage. Darryl, we'll go to you and we'll come back to that subject.
Yes, Neil, Mark's in for a wheel change. A little slow on the left rear there. A slow stop for Mark, but all okay, and out the pits he goes. He will join behind Rick Kelly.
We're back, and of course the safety car has pulled into the pits, and we have had a whole mess of trouble as Anthony Tratt, car 75, was actually second behind Marcus Ambrose, but a lap down, so he was mugged by all the other contenders who need to get hold of Marcus to try and give themselves a chance to win. One of them's Cameron McConville, Garth Tander's teammate, and also up there is Paul Radicic, and Tratty doesn't know which way to go to get out of the way.
Not surprisingly, Billy, he's been shown the bad sportsmanship flag very quickly.
And there was a lot of chat about this at the drivers' briefing. Last year they were giving you a lap to get out of the way. This year a lot less, and Tratty hasn't been all that helpful this time around.
Well, he was nudged and budged and
beaten and kicked.
Todd getting crossed up in the very place that burned him yesterday.
Look at this, there's cars everywhere. All different attacking lines into that hairpin. They all get funneled in there eventually.
Tratt locked up there.
I reckon you're in the safest spot up here, mate.
Well, yeah, I mean, earlier in the race I thought I wouldn't mind being out there, but the elbows are up now, and boys are into it.
Now they're black flagging Anthony Tratt, we understand. Up ahead, Ambrose has a 2.3 second lead on Stephen Richards. That's something to keep an eye on, whether he can carry that speed, as Tratt is also being under attack again.
I think McConville got hit by Jason Richards. They're all bottling up behind Anthony Tratt.
And of course right behind them is Greg Murphy, who is never afraid to get involved. Todd Kelly behind Murph.
Well, a few people will have noticed that Tratty let Stephen Richards through easily through turn 1, but thereafter the cork went straight in the bottle.
Look at this.
It's been frustrating Cameron McConville. He's behind the car. Well, the team representative he drove last year.
Well, now Cameron's holding them up. He's absolutely under threat from Greg Murphy, and right behind Murph, Todd Kelly.
Going to be aggravation here, any tick.
Look at the double-ended bumper job
there
that
it is.
Todd Kelly's getting here.
I'm not sure if they touched there, but Cameron went onto the ripple strip, and that tilted the car, of course. So
They're touching, they're side to side on the way to 8.
Kelly gets past Cameron McConville. Now there's a big go here.
Will they get through there two abreast?
Well,
yeah, no, they won't. There's chaos. There's chaos.
Oh, this is
and
a
I
bad
didn't
one.
think you could possibly get 2 cars through there. This stuff's insane.
It was Dumbrell trying to get past Cameron McConville. We're not sure if that triggered it. Colin Bond sweeps across the steward's room. This will be, of course.
You could see that coming from a lap back. I said to you guys.
Yep. They are past 75% race distance, keep in mind, guys. So they can stop the race here if they want.
And Stephen Johnson, of course, caught up in that. He is finally out of the race, one would suspect, after carrying on with a very battered car.
We've seen some absolutely ridiculous moves through turn 8.
The territory they were fighting over.
That was all because the field was artificially grouped when it shouldn't have been.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the bottleneck from the lap car definitely bunched the guys up more than normal, and everyone gets a bit racy, not long to go in the event, and everyone's pretty buggered.
Brad Jones tied up there. Sorry, Garth, and of course Cameron, your teammate. Now further up the track, is that Jason or Mark? It's Mark Winterbottom further up the track.
Well, look at this unfold here. We've got to look at this from a few angles.
It's Dumbrell here trying to make a pass on Cameron McConville, and this in the sweeper
Just touched him, just enough to turn him around.
And
look
look
at
what
that
happened.
damage.
It was barely a touch. It looked like they didn't touch
Well,
it.
at 220 Ks, you can imagine.
No, it doesn't take much. And the cars are fairly unloaded there.
Just enough of a touch. Look at that.
Yeah.
Push the tail out. Cam trying to gather the car up, but by that stage,
A victim.
So Jones and Stephen Johnson, nowhere to go. Huge damage.
McConville just fought and fought and fought to try and hold that car. And then it eventually came around on him. And bang, T-bone twice in the driver's side. Absolute chaos.
Look at Bernard weave through here. Cars backing out towards him. Yes, just around the chaos. So he's managed to avoid it. Under yellow, we're down in the pits with Gary Rogers, I believe.
What a difficult opening round to the championship this has been for your blokes.
Shocker, Greg. But, you know, I mean, what can you do? It's, I mean, Gas crashed this morning. We thought it was bad enough, but now we've got another one and a week to fix them. But you just got to press on.
You watched the big screen. You saw it seemed like minimal contact, but I guess 2 into turn 8 just does not go, does it?
No, well, particularly at that speed, you've only just got to get a little bit of a tap and the car will lose its balance, which clearly you could see what happened. And, you know, but it's a tough day for the team, but, hey, we press on.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks.
Well, after this trail of carnage, and Brad Jones again, well, he's had some rough times here, hasn't he? At least he wasn't upside down this time. But Marcus Ambrose will be just in front of Stephen Richards when they eventually resume. Or, as you pointed out, gentlemen, we may have a premature race finish. I don't know. Have we passed the 75%?
Yeah, we have.
Yes, so
well and truly.
We'll keep an eye on that scenario as well.
Look at this. Everyone's all bottled up. They've got steam coming out of their ears. Dumbrell.
It's because Cam and Todd were getting side to side, so McConville lost pace. That gave Dumbrell the incentive to come down the inside, but you've got to go back a step to understand why all the cars were together in the first place.
Gee, scary moment for Cam there, because that was the driver's side that those two cars were collecting as they followed through. They had no choice, of course, but watch this as he turns sideways, and you can see Steve Johnson there and Bradley Jones both collecting that driver's side. You just don't want to be in the middle of that.
Incidentally, 75% is 59 laps.
That's Richo there, who has had to play second fiddle to Marcus most of the weekend, but will he have a serious crack, or will he say, hey, it's only 3 points? Maybe it's not worth it in terms of the championship. Beyond the top 5, we have Rick Kelly, Paul Radisich, Jason Richards, Greg Murphy and Todd Kelly. We understand that Garth Tander's teammate Cameron McConville has been taken to the medical centre, has a bit of a bump to the head. He looked well when we saw him on the track, but of course it's precautionary and I suppose standard fare when you're in a high impact collision.
We'll be on a first-name basis with the guys in the medical team by tonight.
Frequent flyer pass.
Yeah, GRM's a frequent flyer, frequent medical program.
You'll have your own broom book for next year.
If Marcus closes this deal with only a few laps to go, it's not a bad weekend for him. The furthest his name has appeared on a sheet this weekend was 4th in the warm-up this morning. It's not a bad effort, is it?
Absolutely. And it's not easy to take maximum points away from the Clipsal 500 as we see the cars will be ready to go green as they cross the start-finish line. The safety cars here. Let's see what sort of jump Richo can get on Marcus. Already that Pertec Falcon is showing heaps of speed. Can Stephen stay with him? Bright's carrying a lot of speed as well, and Barguana was having a very, very good look at Paul Wheel, also in that fight. Jason Richards back in 8th position. Great performance from the Tasman team if they can keep it together.
Marcus shows great restart speed. Oh, Murphy up the inside of Tratt.
And Tratt this time is holding up Todd Kelly.
Problem here with Mark Scaife back in the pit, and this time they're having a longer, harder look at a problem on the front left corner, which will be as a result of the contact with David Bernard at turn 4 earlier. And a drive-through penalty, we understand, for car number 12.
John Bow.
Pit lane speeding, apparently. He's been pinged for.
Well, that weekend just gets worse and worse. They showed some encouraging signs, though, for later on. Darryl Beattie.
Yeah, it's just interesting, guys. This car was in earlier prior to this safety car. They had a look at it. They were going to fix it then. The safety car came out. They put Mark back out during that period, and now he's come back in and they're giving it a good old beat with the mallet to try and fix it. But if you have a look at this as well, look at these tyres, Neil, like you say, while they're on that safety period, look at the junk that they pick up around the racetrack prior to the restart.
Yeah, that's a whole heap of pickup on that tyre, and Garth, you can comment on that. It makes the car pretty slippery and pretty ugly to drive.
It does. It takes a good 2 or 3 laps to clear that away, and especially late in the weekend here, we've done 2 races, almost 500 k's of racing now, and you can see the marbles flying off the car there. It's get offline just a little bit, or you slower speed in the safety car, and you pick that up very quickly. Hence the name.
And depending on how much you end up with, you can almost feel as though you've got a wheel wildly out of balance.
Yeah, you can feel like the wheels come loose, gone out of balance, gone flat, and really you've got to press on for 2 or 3 laps to make sure that you haven't got a build-up issue.
Looking back from Richard's car at Jason Bright, and who feels like he must be half a chance of catching Ambrose if he can just get past the second-placed car. There's the gap, Ambrose to Richards.
Good speed from Bright this late in the race. He stopped very early for tyres, and good speed now.
John Bowe has copped another drive-through penalty on the radio from race control. So he'll take a second one. So it's a real full stop for him. Look at Bright.
Stephen just shuts the door.
So we're headed for a collision there. Ambrose, Richards, Bright, Wheel, Bargwana in 5th. Can Marcus Ambrose do it and break Ford's duck?
Look at that exit
Race 2
speed.
at the Clipsal 500. It's never been done before. Clean sweep to Holden in all 5 races on Sunday.
Jace, I think your chance is going to come closer to the last lap, mate. I don't know if Richards can hang on for pace, mate, once we get a little bit going. So just you know, be patient. Doing a great job, Jace. 4 laps to go.
That'll be like a red rag to a bull. Phil Keed, engineer on car 50, working very well with Jason Bright to get maximum speed out of this car. It's been most impressive, not only in the streets, the Melbourne Grand Prix, but also the streets of Adelaide. They've continued that consistency of form. And so too Paul Wheel, who's been an outstanding performer here this weekend. Missed qualifying, had to start from the back of the grid in race 1, climbed his way up to 5th, and here he is in the top 5 again. This is a great start for PWR.
There's that second drive-through Neil spoke about for John Bowe.
And car 23's just been given a drive-through as well, so Dave Bernard will have to call through the pit lane.
And this is where Bright should have been yesterday. He finished up 14th, so it's been a pretty good salvage operation. Gee, there'll be a lot to talk about on V8 Superstars Sunday, April 11. I don't know where to start, but we'll think about something. Less than a second the gap here. Bright, though, attacking Richards. Obviously, they feel they have enough speed to threaten for the race win. But bear in mind, we're looking at a difference of 6 points here between Ambrose and Richards under the scoring system, and you don't drop your worst round this year.
Could be heading for a thrilling finish here. This incredible grind. Holden flags and Ford flags waving.
Ambrose is just too quick, isn't he? Gap there between Bright and his teammate Wheel. Bargwana 5th, then Rick Kelly, Paul Radicic, Jason Richards doing very well. Greg Murphy, Todd Kelly, Baird in 021. Haven't seen much of Craig Baird this weekend, but he's heaved himself up to 117 championship points.
What do you think of this close point structure, Garth Tander? I know everyone will look at it from the positive side. Hey, wouldn't it be great if we rocked into Eastern Creek at the end of the year with 6 drivers who can win the championship? But the criticism has been it doesn't give you enough incentive to go for another position.
It does. There is a lot of criticism about that, you know, get to this point of the race, 3 laps to go, why risk copping some sort of driving infringement for a dodgy passing manoeuvre when you're only going to gain 6 points out of it? I'm not so sure that that's the right way to go. Obviously, we want to be pressing on at this last part of the race and have some real reward for pulling a move. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm still not convinced this is the way we need to go. And it also, if you have a bad round, it's very, very tough to come back. And this year, without dropping your worst round, you know, once you have a bad round early in the year, it's very, very tough to come back.
It's very similar, I guess, in philosophy to what they do in NASCAR, because the NASCAR series has a very, very close point structure between places, and quite often you can have a guy who just concentrates purely on consistency, ending up being the champion.
Difference being with NASCAR, though, they run 35, 36 races a year. We race 14.
Oh, Baird's turned it around, and we put the mocker on another one.
Team Kiwi.
Hey, Billy, if you do any more commentating through the year, could you just not talk about me?
Yeah, I'll take that tip, Garth. I'll tell you.
You might get emails from every team.
I've turned a lot of cars around this weekend without leaving the commentary box.
Wait till you see the fine that heads your way.
Yes. Craig Baird was in 12th spot. So unfortunate to see him have a spin so late in the race. Bargwanna, car 10, he's up in the top 5, 5th position in fact. This is another team continuing the flow on of form from the Grand Prix meeting.
Well, there's a big leakage there from Stone Brothers, isn't there? They have a much stronger relationship with them now, and that seems to be paying off for Mark Larkin.
Certainly makes sense when you consider how high. Here we go. Under brakes. Oh, we thought there was going to be...
That's the second time in Wakefield Street.
It's just the battle for second place, and Jason Bright is not giving up on this attack.
He's got a little bit more car speed, but it's only a whisker, and it's just not quite enough at the moment, and Stevie's wise to it.
And here's the bad incident, I suspect.
Yep.
Just touching the car in front.
Got a bit of a hit there.
And good evasion.
Paul Dumbrell was the Castrol car.
Anthony Tratt was just getting around.
I think prior to that he was just rubbing on the back of Todd Kelly's car, was it?
And that's the second time in a few laps that David Bernard has also squeaked through a potential hazard. Well, Ambrose hasn't been able to get away from them here. The lead is 1.7 seconds.
Last one.
On the last lap of the race. So something dramatic has to happen. Jason Bright, as Garth Tander pointed out, is it worth the 3 points between first, second and third?
I reckon Brodie will be having a big look at the hairpin in this being the last lap. He's had a few sniffs. Interesting to see how defensive Richo gets.
Man of the moment, Marcus Ambrose, showing great speed throughout the weekend. He's won race 1, looking good for a win in race 2, but second is not resolved.
He hasn't really got enough of a run on him out of 7, has he? There's a fair margin when you look at that in metres at the moment.
Watch the attack here. He'll have a go for sure. Down toward the hairpin. He ducks to the inside.
Very strong. Look at this.
Deeper, deeper. No, only just to keep away.
I tell you, that's a huge braking effort on the part of Jace. He was a long way back at 8. He closed the gap. Still got one opportunity up the inside in the final corner, but Richo knows that, and he'll drive straight down the white line.
Ambrose has the gap, and it looks very much like a win for Ford. The blue oval finally shows its colours here in Adelaide. A double victory for Marcus Ambrose, and that's a first for Ford. Second, Stephen Richards. Third, Jason Bright.
Thanks very much, guys. Good start to the year. See you back in the pit.
Jason Bargwanna, 5th. Rick Kelly, 6th. Radicic, Jason Richards, Greg Murphy and Todd Kelly. That's your top 10. It's Ambrose from Richards and Wheel for the overall points this weekend. 192 to Marcus. That is maximum. Stephen Richards, 186. Very close in terms of the championship, isn't it? And then Paul Wheel with 171. And Greg Murphy, for all his troubles, finished 9th today, has had a pretty good result with 159 points overall. Well, that is a big duck broken for Ford. And once again, it's Stone Brothers that has done the braking. The third driver to win both races on the weekend. Scaife and Lowndes have done it, but of course they did it for the Holden Racing team.
Well, she's a wild affair at different points in time this afternoon, Bill, but tremendous performance from the Stone Brothers. The thing about the Ambrose effort today was just intelligent driving, never even looked like putting a scratch on it, and those guys gave him a car that was just beautiful. It obviously looked after its tyres. It just really even saw it offline. I mean, he just had the car right where he wanted it the whole time. It was pretty impressive stuff.
As we run through the positions, I mentioned the top 10 there. Some great efforts this weekend. Very consistent running with a lot of trouble for Greg Murphy, and that's why he finished just off the podium in the overall picture. At 9th today, belied his performance. Jason Richards also very strong. 75 points only for the weekend though, so he's had to do it all today. The lion's share of the points coming from this effort. Further back through the field, a good consistent drive from Paul Dumbrell gives him 141 points for the weekend, and that's a noteworthy performance. Anthony Tratt finished 13th, and a lot of these guys, of course, did not make it to the line today in a race that saw lots of carnage.
Well, there's 17 on my computer scoreboard here that'll be scored as point scorers, and then a heap of DNFs after that, so it's really carved up that field. Half the field's gone missing for one reason or another.
That's the other costly aspect of the new system, isn't it? You cannot score points unless you finish. So
Richo doesn't look too bad, all things considered. Another great effort from him 2 years in a row.
I think, Garth, we were talking before about the possible scenarios with the points. You have to hope that if you do have a DNF in one of these rounds, that your opponents have one as well. That's the only way you're going to bail out of it, because you're not allowed to drop that round anymore. Greg Rust, of course, is getting ready to congratulate Marcus. It'll be interesting to hear how he fared today. The temperature overall seemed to be a bit lower than it was yesterday, but of course it's their second round of 250 kilometres, so a great chore for the drivers. And it gets a lot cooler, and the race is a lot shorter from here until Sandown and Bathurst later in the season. Greg Rust.
Well, he got the championship last year, but this was the round, I guess, that got away. He certainly got a leg victory, but now you've got the round. How does that feel?
Feels pretty damn good, I've got to say. We fought that race. We had a slight problem with the engine. The throttle sensor was misfiring, so it was like a light switch. It was either on or off, so we burnt the tyres out pretty quick, but we brought it home, and that's the strength of our team. You know, they guided me all the way.
Awesome start to the championship, Marcus. Head to the podium and enjoy the champagne.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. I will do.
Richo, I guess I can't say any more than Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, we just didn't quite have the pace to go with Marcus today, so had to settle for second. Probably the tyres were pretty second-hand by the end, and Bridie had a bit of pace on towards the end there, so managed to keep him behind. It was a great result for the new Formula R Castrol Commodore.
What have you got to do to catch that blue car beside you?
Oh, mate, we've had a lot of changes during the off-season. I think it's just a case of finding our way a little bit more with the car. I mean, you're only talking a couple of tenths a lap, so we're not too concerned. But look, it's a long year. We're just going to take it, see what happens at Eastern Creek. Hopefully we'll be on the pace there and just keep working away and working away.
Well done, mate.
Thanks a lot.
Well, Jason Bright, what about that big set of brakes of yours?
Yeah, no, the car has been excellent under brakes all weekend. We've struggled in the first split all weekend, and in the last split we're quite quick, and it's all brakes. You know, the car's just great under brakes at the moment, but we've got a good package. We're just struggling over a few of the bumps. I'm sure when we get on a few smoother tracks, this thing's going to fly.
Fantastic result for the whole team, really, when you consider Paul's performance as well.
Oh, it is, mate. The team are doing a great job. We were very focused last year. We were just had a very tough set of circumstances in front of us, and I'm sure we could have done better last year if it wasn't the same. And I think we're going to prove something this year. The car and the team are all coming together really well.
You had a good crack at your former Bathurst winning teammate there, but I guess points prevailed, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, we got under this set of tyres really early in the race, so for us to be running the pace we were at the end of the race was credit to the way the thing's set up, and we were probably giving away 20 laps or 15 laps or so to these guys on tyres, and we were still able to match their pace. So I think it's all looking good.
We've celebrated with the top three finishes from race 2 here today, and a couple of the Clipsal girls getting caught in the crossfire there. Well, it is a hot day. But here are the points for the round, and we see Ambrose from Richards and Paul Wheel getting onto that podium. Theoretically, 171 points. Greg Murphy, a pretty good salvage operation on a tough weekend. Then Jason Bright, Rick Kelly, very close here. Paul Dumbrell, great work. Paul Morris, John Bow, and Mark Scaife, 10th, ahead of Jason Bargwana.
Well, we've snuck into the back of the Gary Rogers transporter and found one pretty disappointed Cam McConville. Talk us through that incident and what you think.
Well, Murph gave me a little bit of a tap coming out of turn 7 there, and I got a bit sideways, and then he got a run on me, and then there was another car that sort of went alongside. I think it might have been Russell, I can't recall. So we sort of touched, and then I lifted and slotted in behind him, no problem. I saw another car behind me, and as I turned into the corner, or turned in through the quick, turn 8, which is 6 gear, over 200k, I got a big hit in the back and basically turned me around. I was full opposite lock, and I nearly caught it, and then obviously Brad had nowhere to go, so just got unloaded from behind.
extensive damage, and have you spoken to the other party involved?
No, I haven't spoken as yet, but you know, you got to be careful what you say. But you know, I've been around a long time, and that's one of the most dangerous bits of driving I reckon I've ever seen, because it's a high-speed part of the racetrack, and we've seen a lot of cars written off there this weekend, and it's not the place to try and turn someone around. So, you know, we're a bit bruised and battered, but we'll live to fight another day.
Have a better run at Eastern Creek, Cam.
Thank you.